My EF called a couple of days ago and demanded that my daughter's name have my maiden name. For context, I am ethnically Filipino, but a second-gen immigrant, as I immigrated when I was 6 years old. Filipino tradition is such that the child's middle name must be the mother's maiden name. For example, my mother's maiden is Smith, fake, therefore, my middle name is Smith. My daughter had just graduated HS, and my parents received a picture of her diploma. When they looked at the photo, they realized it did not have their last name, my maiden name, on it. They were very upset. Given that I and my husband are culturally American, but ethnically Filipino, my husband is like half, we decided to give her a new name for her middle name and have her hold her father's last name. I was also forced to have a hyphenated last name. Even though I wanted my husband's last name, I conceded to having both names since my parents paid for my education. It's hell to deal with even to this day. EF complained and demanded that I change her name. I told them we are Americans and live in America, including my parents, therefore, we will use what is culturally appropriate. He told me he does not care about the American way and that I am turning my back on the right, Filipino, way. My daughter is already 18 years old. I can't legally do anything regarding her name anymore. I had told him that, but he yelled and demanded I must get it done. Not my daughter, me. And I better, or else. Personally, I have a myriad of reasons why I don't want my daughter to have my maiden name. A lot of issues such as FAFSA, schooling, and even inheritance could also be on the line if she were to change her name. Plus, she just doesn't want a different name. My daughter said no, and both my husband and I agree with her. Later that night, she called them and told them, very nicely, that she will in no way change her name. The only reason she would is if she gets married in the future. EF threw a fit on the phone, and she ignored him and hung up. They haven't spoken to me since. I want to talk to my parents again, but if they're going to throw a fit over a name and continuously be upset, especially over a name they knew about for 18 years, then I will cut ties. I hope they get their act together. They can demand all they want, but that doesn't mean you have to give in to them even if you could. At 18, your daughter rightfully told them to kick rocks. If they want to have a hissy over it, then at least you won't have to listen to it since they're not speaking to you. Enjoy the silence. First, congratulations on raising your daughter to have a backbone. I'd have never had the courage to hang up on my grandparents like that. If she can keep that inner strength, she will go far in life. Second, you chose not to follow a tradition that you found bothersome, maybe even offensive. That's fine. No reason to apologize. Stay strong. And give your daughter a high five from me. The fact they never noticed for 18 years shows how little they actually cared for you or your daughter. If it mattered that much, they would have asked about it sooner. Update. About a year ago, I made a post about how my parents were threatening our relationship because of my daughter's name. Since then, much more has happened. Last year, after my daughter graduated high school and turned 18 years old, my Filipino parents were upset that her middle name wasn't my maiden name. This is a part of the Filipino culture that our family has taken part in. When my daughter was born, my husband and I gave her her own middle name instead of my maiden last name. My parents, who have called her by her actual legal middle name since she was born, were upset after looking at her high school diploma. Why hadn't they realized before? Still beats me. They called demanding that I change her name or else. Obviously, I didn't want to, and legally I couldn't anyway. My daughter called them later that night and said no. My EF screamed at her and she hung up. Since then, there has been a lot of unraveling. I tried my best to hear them out. After speaking to my parents, they believe that because my daughter has her own middle name, I am turning my back on my own family and being Filipino. EF said that because daughter is his granddaughter, then his name should be on that diploma. Now after this, we can all guess what he really means. He just wants to take credit for daughter graduating high school and going to a pretty goddamn good college and her further accomplishments as she gets older. EF also attacked husband as well. EF believes that husband is some sort of authoritarian figure to me and daughter, saying she is your daughter, too. Which basically is implying that husband is trying to take over our entire marriage. In reality, I am the one in charge. I am in charge of all the taxes, cleaning, and cooking. Husband literally just goes to work. I like it this way. In the past, EF had argued with me that I took husband's car to the body shop. EF also threw a fit because I take the trash out. EF keeps telling me that those are tasks a man should do, not the mother wife. As said again, I like being in charge of everything. Plus some context, my husband suffered from a terrible infection back in 2020. This has caused him to have issues with him being able to balance and walk well. So even then, husband can't do those tasks EF complained about. EF also believes that husband is faking his disability, saying he's stronger than he looks. EP has also complained about my daughter being unhappy with the way she dresses and how she isn't helping. For context, my daughter dresses like a normal teenager. Yes, she'll wear a crop top, but all kids dress like that. Though I don't entirely like it, I also understand that this is the fashion for her generation and that when the time comes, I trust that she will dress appropriately. They were unhappy that her white graduation dress, which would be covered by her graduation gown, was backless. EP was also upset that her midriff was showing another time. While bashing my husband for not helping, they also bashed my daughter too. Again, I like it this way and I like being in charge of everything. I truly understand how my parents feel about me, my marriage, and daughter, saying something just doesn't feel right. After hearing from my parents, I cut ties with them. I don't call them or visit. This year they are celebrating their 50th anniversary, but their only daughter and child, am not coming. I know I am going to hear crap from my tita about not planning it, but it's not a concern. We are starting new traditions that fit our family. Good Lord, half the planet hates each other over old traditions and religion. Do whatever you want. No matter what you do, someone will be mad. So just do what blows your own hair back. Since you're so unhappy with the choices that my husband, daughter, and I make, we will no longer subject you to our obviously disappointing presence. You're now free to enjoy your life without us. They sound ridiculous. Honestly, you can't really reason with people like this. You either bow to their wishes, stick up for yourself and family tolerating their behavior when attending family gatherings, or set a boundary with NC. They don't come across as remotely able to respect any type of boundary no matter how small. Every year, I host a neighborhood party on the 4th of July. Everyone is welcome unless they decide to be an idiot. I live in a pretty poor area, I'm the only one with a pool, and I bought the property next door and knocked the house down, so I have a double-size plot. I'm not saying any of this to brag, just explain background information. Plenty of room to party. The party went pretty well. People started showing up around 1 p.m, we played in the pool, we chased my dogs around the yard, we ate some BBQ, and we had some beers. The teenagers went off to take a walk, read, smoke some pot right before sunset, so it was just adults and small children around when I started my fireworks show. Every year, I spend $2,000 $3,000 on fireworks. I only set them off between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on the 4th. I'm not one of those folks setting off fireworks for a week before or after the holiday. One rule I have is that I am the only person who is allowed to light fireworks on my land. If anyone is getting rushed to the ER missing some fingers, it's not gonna be one of my guests, it's gonna be me. So, I set off my first 3 rounds of mortars, 28 total fireworks, and as I'm getting set up for the 4th round, 22 fireworks, a woman who I have never met approached me. She's apparently my 4th neighbor to the west sister, but I had no idea who she was at the time. My daughter is really enjoying the show, but she wants to light one instead of just watching. Me. Sorry, I don't let anyone light fireworks on my property, but this isn't exactly safe, and I don't want to get sued. Oh, sugar, it's okay, she'll be fine, look how sad she is. At this moment she points at a smiling girl who is clearly no older than 7, I'm sorry, but even if she were 21 I wouldn't let her do it, there's no way I'm letting a child risk their fingers. Oh, sugar, it's okay, she'll be fine, look how sad she is. At this moment she points at a smiling girl who is clearly no older than 7, I'm sorry, but even if she were 21 I wouldn't let her do it, there's no way I'm letting a child risk their fingers. But she wants to light one. That's not going to happen, and if you continue to push the issue, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Now, kindly step back so that I can continue the show, we've been arguing this whole time, and people want to see fireworks, not arguments. Just sit back and enjoy the holiday. At that point, she went over to her daughter, grabbed her by the arm, and went back to her brother's house. I feel bad for the kid. She missed the rest of the show, and she missed the homemade ice cream cake I bring out at the end of the party. Her brother and his kids stayed at the party and had a great time. I hope the little girl was at least able to watch the show from the window or their own yard or something. The very thought of a parent wanting to let a child handle explosives gives me shudders. Every year you get news stories of some poor child who have lost parts of their body or been blinded or burned, and it breaks your heart. Fireworks can only be sold in my country if you are over 18. They are not to be used unless you are an adult. This mum must have a main wish for her daughter. By the way, your street party sounds great. That's one crap parent. OP. The crap that gets me, the little girl was having a good time. She was sitting there smiling and enjoying herself. The small child wasn't the one being a baby, the mom was. It's absurd to see a 7-year-old who is more mature than her mom. Not the idiot. We don't do a ton of fireworks, but kids don't get them. A 12-year-old might get to light a snake. 7-year-olds get a glow stick. I still have the scars on the back of my legs from sitting on used sparklers someone just tossed onto the steps.